The morning sun glazed softly over the rooftop of Surrey's affluent Hartington Lane, a quiet, scenic cul-de-sac lined with high hedges, whispering birch trees, and homes that reeked of generational wealth and clean scandals. Flashing blue lights disturbed the calm. Two unmarked black SUVs pulled up outside house number 12, a white stone Georgian mansion with cascading ivy vines and wrought iron gates. British police, accompanied by a financial investigator, exited the vehicle. The door opened. Amaka Okonkwo stood barefooted, rope tied lazily around her waist. Her silk turban slipped tightly, revealing tightly braided hair beneath. Her lips parted, not in surprise, but something closer to exhaustion. Mrs. Amaka Okonkwo, one officer asked. Yes, her accent was light, a polished mix of Lagos British school English and a subtle hush of Yoruba royalty. We have a warrant to search this property. You are under investigation for financial crimes involving an unauthorized transfer of €400,000 connected to this address. Behind her, the marble hallway yawned into a living space fit for an oligarch. Crystal chandeliers, Persian rugs, a pioneer that hadn't been played in years. Is it a joke? She asked, but her voice trembled. From across the street, a news crew set up. The BBC logo glinted in the sunlight, and another camera zoomed in on the mansion crest above the door, a golden lion clashing sword with an eagle, imported, expensive, out of place, this sleepy English town. Inside, Amaka watched it all unfold on the flat screen. Her hands, still trembling, cradled a small prayer chain, not for the seizure, but for what might come next. Because if they found the transfer, they do find everything. Before the marble floors and British headlines, before the soaring mansions and €400,000 wire transfer, there was Aba, a dusty town in southeastern Nigeria known for its bustling markets, fake levies, and entrepreneurial spirit. It was there that Tunde Okonkwo, then just a military man with little name recognition, met Amaka Udochukwu, the local pageant queen whose smile stopped tricycles in motion. Amaka had dreams, not the type you write in school essays, but the kind you whisper in dark rooms, alone with hunger and ambition. Her father sold used electronics. Her mother, a school teacher, believed education would be their ticket out. But Amaka knew better. Beauty and brains could open doors no degree could. She married Tunde 3 months after he was posted back to Aba. Some said it was love, others whispered it was strategy. Either way, she moved into the barracks with her chin held high and her dreams zipped in her Louis Vuitton knockoff. When Tunde resigned from the army and contested for Senate under the People's Progressive Front, no one expected much. He didn't have the godfather. He didn't have the cash. What he had was Amaka. She curated his image, the silent strategies. Behind every public handshake, there was her whisper. Behind every grassroots donation, her burner phone. When he won the seat, shock rippled through the capital. Even more shocking, his transformation. In 6 months, the Okonkwo family became a staple at elite Abuja gathering. Their outfit dazzled, their speeches inspired, their convoy turned heads. It wasn't long before the senator began chairing lucrative committees, patrolling oversight, national security funding, and foreign aid disbursement. And with power came money, rivers of it. Their home in Maitama was the first jewel, 8-bedroom, Olympic-sized pool, bulletproof glass. Then came the apartment in Dubai, a penthouse in Ikoyi, rumors of properties in South Africa. But Amaka had her eyes on London. I want a house where no one knocks without appointment, she told Tunde during a charity gala. a place where the air smells like silence. 2 months later, they bought the house in Surrey in cash. She flew back and forth under a diplomatic passport. On paper, it was for their daughter's schooling. In truth, it was something else entirely, something more permanent, more discreet. In Abuja, Amaka was hailed as the new queen of the capital. Her fashion was covered in Genevieve magazine. Her foundation, the Okonkwo Hope Initiative, provided scholarship, boreholes, and bags of rice for photo ops. But behind the smiles, she was orchestrating something else. Because somewhere deep inside her, Amaka knew one truth. In Nigeria, wealth could protect you, but abroad, wealth had to be hidden, transformed, sanitized. And she knew just the man who could do it, Marcus Wren. By day, Amaka Okonkwo was a senator's wife, philanthropist, and global conference speaker. She sipped campaign in gold-rimmed flutes, posed with world leaders, and tweeted Bible verses about justice and grace. But by night, and especially on international soil, she became someone else. Her real business didn't wear heels or give interviews. It wore burner phones, encrypted mails, and layered LLCs that didn't technically exist. It all began the year after they bought the Surrey house. The Okonkwo Hope Initiative, the same charity praised in local newspapers, quietly opened a consulting branches in Dubai. The paperwork was immaculate, registered under a company called Mellow Bridge Holdings, supposedly offering development advisory for the West African resource management. In reality, it was a shell. Through it, Amaka funneled money from donors, many of them state contractors, into offshore accounts. Then, with the help of Marcus Wren, a British banker known in certain London circles for laundering African oil money, she moved the funds into real estate. Marcus was the kind of man who never appeared in newspaper unless someone died mysteriously. He was always in a suit, always alone, always 2 phones in hands. They met at a financial gala in Geneva, where Amaka spoke about female empowerment in African leadership. He watched her from across the room. At first, he thought he was just another trophy wife. Then she quoted Swiss anti-laundering laws in a toast. Their partnership began over caviar and ended in crypto transfers. Wren helped her buy the Surrey mansion using a limited partnership company registered in Guernsey. The down payment was wired from an educational grant issued by a charity in Port Harcourt. That charity, no employees, no website, just a PO box and an accountant who disappeared 6 months later. The rest of the 2.3 million euros was split across 4 jurisdictions: Isle of Man, Luxembourg, Abuja, and Cyprus. Clean enough to fool a casual audit, sleek enough to smell of legitimacy. Amaka became meticulous. Her aliases, Martha E.A. Okezie, Madam Sunrise, rotated weekly. She began traveling to Turkey and Spain under diplomatic aliases, using encrypted laptops and SIM cards preloaded with identity-hoping apps. She wasn't just laundering money, she was building an empire. Luxury apartment in Malaga, an art collection in a temperature-controlled vault in Zurich, silent steaks in 2 London restaurants, one of which catered to MPs and ex-intelligence officers. Even Wren admitted, "You are sharper than most of the men I've worked with." But power made her sloppy. She began trusting too many, delegating too much, and then, one day, a transfer triggered an alert. It was just 400,000 euros, a routine shift from a dormant NGO in Abuja to a UK account. But the paperwork was imperfect, a clerical error in the invoice date. The listed IP traced back to Istanbul, where Amaka had been last seen boarding a flight. Worse, the receiving account name matched an alias tied to a previous flagged transfer. The system blinked red, and the file landed on the desk of an MI5 analyst who happened to specialize in Nigerian shell companies. From that moment, Amaka's carefully woven tapestry began to fray. It started with a flicker, a standard financial red flag algorithm at a mid-tier compliance desk in London. A €400,000 deposited in a dormant business account from a Nigerian NGO, supposedly for the climate education consulting. The invoice looked fine at first glance. The sender's name? Clean. The receiving party? A limited company in Kent registered to a Sunrise Holding, but the invoice metadata told a different story. It was dated 17 times within 48 hours, and the IP address used to upload it bounced through Turkey, Greece, then Lagos. The bank's anti-fraud system flagged it amber, not high enough for panic, but odd enough to land in the hands of Eliza Barnes, a junior analyst at the UK's Joint Financial Intelligence Unit. She almost skipped it until she recognized the NGO's name. It had appeared in an internal memo 6 months earlier, tied to a failed investigation involving another Nigerian officer. Curious, she ran a quick background check. What she found stopped her cold. The NGO, Future Sprout Education Trust, listed one trustee, no active staff, no school affiliations. Its address linked to a warehouse that caught fire last year. That's when Eliza escalated. 3 days later, MI5 and the National Crime Agency were looped in. So was the UK branch of the EFCC. It didn't take long to trace Sunrise Holding to an Amaka Okonkwo's alliance. By the end of the week, surveillance was authorized. Phone records, travel vlogs, property titles. Each piece fit like a puzzle. The €400,000 transfer was only a thread, but when pulled, it unraveled a tapestry that reached from Abuja oil contract to private equity investment in Canary Wharf. Her travel record shows over 60 international flights in 2 years, 8 passports, diplomatic clearance stamped across EU and North African borders. More alarming, nearly $8.5 million euros had moved through companies loosely linked to her since 2021. Investigators quietly contacted the UK Land Registry, and there it was, the mansion in Surrey, bought in full with no mortgage, by Sterling Crest Limited, another shell tied to the same Turkish IP trail. They now had case, but the agencies waited. They wanted more. They watched her movement, intercepted calls, a conversation between her and a man named Marcus. Ren revealed encrypted banking apps and code names for accounts. One conversation, Amaka, the €400,000 is clean. It came from scholarship end. Ren, no, that's already under review. You should have used the Cyprus chain. Too slow? I needed it in before quarter close. And now you've opened a door. That door opened further when a whistleblower from Melo Bridge Holdings, her Dubai consulting firm, emailed the NCA. Attached were internal memos, fake advisory contracts, even voice notes of Amaka giving laundry instructions. It was enough. In early May, the UK court approved asset seizure under the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002.